Aloha, and welcome to Wind in Your Hair. Authentic talk, real breakthroughs in love and life, guaranteed no BS, and the life you want most, starting right now. Aloha, and welcome to Wind in Your Hair. I'm Anna, your host, and today I have on a guest, Chris, who is an expert in relationship coaching, and he helps people become authentically centered in who you are, integrating attachment work, nervous system regulation, and lifestyle foundation so you can build secure, healthy relationships with yourself and others. And this is why I'm having Chris on, because I love his work and we both are passionate about the same things, about helping people heal the relationship to self. So thank you, Chris, for being on here again for the second time.
Okay, thank you.
So what is your passion topic?
Passion topic, really anything and all things relationship. I really enjoy the foundation work because people get themselves into relationships and they end up having to be concerned about their attachment when they're 10 years into a relationship that just is falling apart because they didn't pay attention to it at the beginning. So, really, it's helping primarily women because women make the choice in who they pick, right? Men pursue and propose, and women decide. You guys
Right.
pick. So teaching women how to pick men that are appropriate for themselves, navigate through the dating experience is really what I enjoy. And this by default is working on their attachment, teaching them boundaries, teaching all of the skills that we aren't taught in school and oftentimes like not taught by our parents. So these are
Mhm.
all skill sets that I really like teaching people.
I love that. And I have a lot of good questions to ask you. And I also know that you're in the middle of a relationship development type thing. And I would love you to go into detail about that as well. So I think it's interesting. You coach mainly women and I coach mainly men. I think it's really valuable because a man needs a woman's perspective and a woman needs a man's perspective.
Yeah, I find the feedback that I get from women is they'll search me out specifically because they want, um, and they don't know me, but perceptively a grounded, secure man. Give them the perspective from a man's point of view. And I've been through 30 plus years, I'm now 47, 30 years of relationship dynamics, including a marriage and divorce, but they're looking for perspective from someone like me as to what should I be looking for? What should I be paying attention to? What does it feel like to
Mhm.
have a man actually listen to me? Because
Mhm.
they say if a man like you can have capacity, then surely there's a man for me that has capacity, right?
Mhm.
Because there's this fallacy out there, like, and I see it all the time on Instagram. Secure men don't exist. Those men are,
Mhm.
must be AI. And this idea that these men don't exist when in reality, as you know, 60% of the population is secure. So when you look at growth mindset, women by disposition are fundamentally more growth mindset. That's
Mhm.
You're never going to find a man that has grown up and he's just like, hey, I'm going to be more growth mindseted. Actually, women bring that to the relationship, and that's what a man wants. It's emotional attunement, it's attention to their emotional state, it's the presentation of things that are not working emotionally, the
Mhm.
growth mindset. Men bring other things that are strengths, leadership, purpose, direction. So, this is why, and Adam Lane Smith talks a lot about this. I love his work because he's very direct. He talks about the idea that, like, if you are not a CEO as a man, you're not going to wake up one day and be like, I want to be a CEO if that's never been your dream. But the man
Mhm.
who wants to be a CEO, good luck telling him he can't be. It'll take a major consequence, typically in a man's life, to get him to make a change. This is good. That means the man's not going to be pushed off track super easily by every shiny thing or person or event that comes his way, right?
Mhm.
Women live more in the moment emotionally, which is why they're more growth mindseted. Men look at things objectively, logically, less in their body, more in their mind, as far as a goal and a purpose, which means they're direction orientated, not so much growth orientated.
Mhm.
Subtle
Yeah.
difference. So that the,
Yeah.
the ask is men need emotional stability.
Mhm.
What? And women need that growth mindset, right?
Mhm.
Each brings something different to the relationship.
Mhm. I think it's interesting that you're divorced, I'm divorced, and between 60% of couples get divorced, right? And I
Awesome.
just think that everybody should just know nobody is taught really how to have healthy relationships or to be securely attached. So everybody should just know that they're gonna fail at their first marriage. Just get married for the shit of it and just give it 5 years, learn a bunch of hard lessons, go through some pain, go through the ringer, get divorced, do better second time around. What do you think about that plan?
Yeah, the statistics, closer to 70%.
Wow.
Statistics aren't 70, but if you add in maybe 75% tops, if you add in individuals that are in a relationship for children, that if you add in a relationship where they're just both be complacent and don't want to rock the boat, and plus divorce, you're looking at 70% approximately of people, I think the research.
Mhm. So sad. So, number 1, why do so many people mistake emotional intensity for love?
It's because most people have no idea what love is.
Mhm,
We're taught by movie, by social media, by the idealization that, in particularly with social media and uh, hypergamy, all the sorts of things, that there is always a better option. And if it doesn't feel right, then it mustn't be right. Right.
mhm,
And that love is a feeling. Most people have no clue, and mostly women don't have a clue, because women sit in their bodies, they sit in their feelings. They feel that love should feel good, right?
mhm,
When the feelings are gone, then the love must be gone. And if the feelings aren't there at the beginning, then this can't be right, because that's not going to
mhm,
end love. So women
mhm,
very poor choices on people that come to them presenting an emotional state, which then they attribute to love. Love is a choice. I tell my girlfriend, I'm like, I didn't fall in love with you. I
mhm,
chose to love you based on everything that I found out about you over a very long period of time. And I still choose to stay because I respect and admire who you are, the good, the bad, the ugly, the core wounds, all of the stuff. I can handle that. I can hold space for the things I need to hold space for. You're responsible for the things that you're responsible for. I will consciously choose to stay through the difficult times, even when the feelings are gone.
mhm.
With the
So the
reality, yeah, if you've been married, you might not like your spouse sometimes. You might
right.
totally,
Mhm,
but the love is what keeps you there.
mhm,
You know that that the situation is right. Object.
mhm. Well, I got married on the wrong conditions because I didn't really love him. I was a single mom. I saw the red flags. I did it anyway. I had limiting beliefs and I didn't believe it was going to get any get better. So I married him and there really was no love. I don't think on either end. So it
No.
didn't make it hard to want to leave. I really did want to work on the marriage. I wanted to get better, but I realized when you only have one builder in a relationship, you're never going to build something beautiful.
Yeah.
And so the question is, what is love exactly? Like when I think of love, I think of that Bible verse from, I think it's First Corinthians, where it says, love is patient, love is kind, love is not envious, love does not get jealous, love doesn't keep an account of wrongs, love is not easily angered. It rejoices in all things, it doesn't rejoice when you stumble. So that is like the biblical version of love, which doesn't sound very exciting, does it?
Love isn't exciting. And some of the things I draw caution to, because patience is one of the big ones. And you can't stay patient in a relationship that isn't serving you right.
Mhm,
I'll go back to the idea, and I'll draw an explanation of mine. So I was married right out of my grad school years, gosh, 25, 26 years of age. I started my university at 17, and I was young, and I had zero direction from my parents. In fact, it was misdirection, but like, stay away from women. They're nothing but problems. Adam and Eve talking about the Bible. Who ate the
mhm.
apple first? Who caused the downfall of man? Women.
Yep.
Welcome to Catholicism. Women are the downfall of society, according to the way I was taught. Anyway, so I catch a wind of a woman in my city who was very attractive, single mom. Her ex-boyfriend had died, so she had a daughter who was 1 year of age. I jump into a relationship, pure chemistry, 100%. Compatibility, extremely low. So we lived fine together, but fundamentally, who the person was, and not down talking her, but the values we had are what we felt was important to life, our communication style, what we wanted for our future, even parenting. Very disconnected
You
belief.
were 17 or 18 when you got into this relationship?
Oh, neither nor. So I started university when I was 17. When I graduated my grad school years,
Okay,
25, 26. Men don't mature until they're about 35, by the way,
right.
emotion. So I got into a situation where it was very much chemistry forward, because she was a beautiful woman. And certainly we got along in a lot of aspects, but
Mhm,
we always backed onto the chemistry. The compatibility and connection wasn't there. And I was really just emotionally immature. I try my best to connect, but probably, and again, this is a long time ago. I've been divorced for forever. And even the relationship, I don't have many memories, but certainly I failed at doing the appropriate connection. I was in full-time practice. I was a dad. We had two more boys. It was a busy life. But the person themselves, when I look back, was not someone that I would consciously choose. Therefore, it wasn't
Mhm.
actual love. It was chemistry. Whereas
Mhm.
my life now is fundamentally the kindest, sweetest woman I've ever met in my life. She possesses all the attributes that I would choose in a woman, and our compatibility, values, lifestyle, everything is in alignment, right? So, and we notice the chemistry increases over the years rather than being the default that we fall back on from problems.
Well, we should do a public service announcement saying that, just so you know, men don't fully mature until they're 35. Don't you think?
That is the research that because men need to have experiences, right? We learn by doing it. We've got to get our
Mhm.
heart broken. We've got to have financial security. We've got to have experiences in life. Um, we need to develop our own sense. Our hormones need to stabilize. We need to have tried on enough personalities to figure out what works for us. This doesn't mean
Mhm.
sleeping around, but it does mean having experiences with women's personalities to see what works. What do we like?
Mhm.
So that realistically, the evolution of life, about 35.
Mhm.
I was late. Gosh, I was post-divorce, honestly.
Mhm.
Mm.
Me too, definitely. What's actually happening in someone's nervous system when they feel addicted to a person?
Intermittent gratification. That's how you train.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is the push-pull dynamic. This is one of the aspects. The second one is they're resonating with what they were taught by their parents as to what your nervous system should feel like with someone when they're co-regulating or oftentimes not co-regulating with you. What's healthy attachment? Okay, and that is the attachment of your parents to you at a young age. What does that look like when you were young? That gives you a reference point to what love, quote unquote, should feel like when you're an adult. Okay.
Mhm.
Intermittent gratification means for the avoidant individual, for example, when you get someone that comes into your life and they breadcrumb you, they give you a little bit of stuff, you're chasing it, then they pull it away. And there's the confusion of when they're going to come back, when are they going to text, when are they going to be consistent, when are they going to ask me out, when like, there's a lot of confusion. So you sit and you wait. This is why when you train a dog, that's what intermittent gratification is for.
Mhm.
You do not give them a treat for every single thing they do because it teaches them that everything is going to get a treat. So they don't actually listen because they're just waiting for a treat. Whereas if you are very random, they're going to keep doing the thing with the hope that they're going to get the reward. And the reward in a relationship is the person's going to give you attention, right?
So true.
It's a cortisol dopamine loop.
Mhm.
But realistically, we don't become our parents. We choose our parents and how they made us feel, right? So if you had an alcoholic father or mother, you're not going to typically become an alcoholic, although it does happen, but you'll typically choose people in your life who have substance issues.
Mhm.
It's used to, unless you've done the work.
Right, you're familiar with that, and that's why a lot of people don't understand that the mind really just wants what's safe and comfortable, even if it's not in your best interest, and that's why we have to do the work of rewiring our mindset. We have to do the work. It's like, I always imagine these, like, little neuron pathways. We have to get rid of the limiting beliefs that are preventing us from having a better life. A lot of people get stuck in life because they have these limiting beliefs. For example, mine was, "This is as good as it's gonna get. I don't deserve any better." So just
Oh, yeah.
accept the bare minimum because that's what I deserve because I got pregnant when I was 26 and I wasn't married.
Right. Yeah. 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 The absolute, and that's part of the work that I do is integrating. And the major frustration with a lot of women, they're like, I know better. I know that this isn't right. I know that I think this, but why do I still have the actions? Because you're operating from a place of your body, not waiting till the feelings settle and operating from a
Mhm,
place of actually cognitive prefrontal cortex thought. So the work that I do is integrating the two and just my own work trying to integrate the two, right? Make sure
mhm,
your thoughts and your feelings are in alignment with each other.
mhm. So that brings me to the question about the avoidance. I think we might have talked about this in the other podcast, but can you just give like a little nutshell version of the anxious and the avoidant and why they kind of attract each other?
There's really four. So
Mhm,
anxious is divided into two subcategories:
mhm,
dismissive, and then disorganized,
mhm,
or anxious. It has three names. It's very confusing. and anxious attachment, and then secure. The reason it's tough to find a secure person is because number one, secure people aren't in the GP, the general population, most of the time, because if they're not ready for a relationship, they're not out there because they're secure. They know I'm not ready. I'm still grieving my last partner, or I'm just not in the state in life where I want to do it. So,
That's
right. So number one, they're not out there. Number two, when they are, they get scooped up quickly because they make a decision, they stick with it. Okay.
Mhm.
And they're scooped up quickly because they're not waiting. The anxious person waits and they wait and they wait. No, I got a message today. Please help me get my avoidant partner back. And it's like
Oh,
women
I
ask for,
understand that.
well, I made the post, right? 5 ways to get your avoidant partner back. It's
Yeah,
like satire but it's true. If you do these things by completely abandoning yourself, it's all you need to do.
right.
Format, you'll be fine. So very few people are born secure. You become secure. Then there's the anxious, which is slightly higher with women for a number of reasons. But anxious is the idea that you, in childhood, you had to be good in order to be loved, right? So this is the highly performative person. You were praised when you did well. You were not praised, if anything, you were chastised when you didn't do well. And Gabor Mate says no two children have the same parents. So oftentimes you can have the same parent, but one will become avoidant, one will become anxious. It really depends on the child's experience, right?
Mhm,
But in general, it's the child that feels like they have to caretake the parent, or that their emotions are only praised when they're good emotions or when the kid's happy. It is performance based. And it's the idea that you're not lovable if you're not good enough to be loved, right?
mhm,
And this is in my own life. I wasn't severely anxious. Mild anxious is my default setting, but it's the Catholicism where, if you're not
mhm,
like, it's going to go to hell, no big deal. So if you're not perfect, you're really not lovable, right? And there was some events in my youth where that certainly came into play. My parents solidified that pretty solid, and it did affect me for a long time. Um, the anxious individual is the one who is constantly clamoring for affection. They want validation, affirmation, attention. They want sex. They're going to want a ton of chemistry early on. They're going to hit the ground running. It's going to be hot and heavy. And if it's not, they're just not interested, right?
mhm,
They constantly overconsume information. They're constantly going to try to make things better. They're constantly going to try to fix the relationship. They're constantly going to fawn, which is do whatever they can to keep the peace so no one's disturbed. They're going to abandon their needs. They're not going to ask for help with things. They're going to typically be perfect on the outside. They're going to do what other people want them to do without ever complaining about it. That's
mhm,
anxious person. They typically have a very high capacity, and the anxious person is very commonly going to consider themselves secure because I just want love. I just want
mhm,
I can
mhm,
be there for you. What is it bad to help everybody? What is it bad? I'm like, I don't, it's not, I'm fine on my own. I care about how you're doing. So they'll sell it
mhm,
as in, oh, I'm really secure. But realistically, they can't hold boundaries. They cannot express their needs. They have a very hard time accepting help, but they will give help. So there's a
mhm,
few fundamental things because they fundamentally believe that they will be abandoned if they ask for something, or rejected if their partner doesn't feel like what they have or what they're asking for is something that they can give, and they're just going to be abandoned.
mhm,
I'm not lovable if I'm not awesome, is the mentality.
mhm,
And there's the dismissive avoidant. The dismissive avoidant usually describes their childhood in like 5 sentences. It was fine, no
mhm,
problem. There was no trauma, there was no stress, there was no chaos. I had a really, really good childhood. We did lots of stuff, upper middle class, classic dismissive avoidant. But if you ask the dismissive avoidant to go into detail with emotional memory, that's missing. So semantic, procedural, episodic memories, there's the 4 different types, and emotional, they're lacking emotional memory. There's literally blocks in their childhood they don't remember. They don't remember going to
and that's because they were most likely raised by at least one dismissive avoidant parent who might have been there physically, but not emotionally.
could be a parent that had substance abuse, could be a parent who was
Mhm,
themselves, could be a parent who was depressed.
mhm,
It could be a number of reasons. A lot of times, are religious families where you just, we don't talk about problems, right? Let's just sweep it under the rug, go to confession, sort of a thing. Not my problem, talk to someone else about it, right?
mhm,
We don't want to make it look like we're not the perfect religious family, for example. So everything is dismissed, emotions are dismissed. So as a result, that child in their youth receives no emotional attunement. They don't know how to co-regulate with a human. They
Mhm.
learn my emotions are my problem, not yours. So
Mhm.
variation or deviation from the norm, these men present as very stable, very secure at the beginning because they're
Mhm.
calm, chill. They can handle anything. But the problem is when your emotional state becomes elevated, when you have an emotional expectation, when you have a need, when you draw attention to something that's not working, this guy turns you from the perfect woman to,
Mhm.
oh, you have drama and you're just like everyone else.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a little needy. Oh, you're a little bit toxic, whatever it is.
Mhm.
Pick something. Your emotions become a threat to their nervous system. The
Mhm.
avoidant will then remove themselves and just live their best life.
Mhm. And they tend to become workaholics, right? It's a lot has to do with avoiding their home life, their relationships, and they're kinda, like, proud of it. "I'm a workaholic." I'm like, that's nothing to brag about. You're
Yes,
avoidant."
usually the one who's avoidant early on.
Yeah.
The most common attachment I coach is women that are avoidant. Anxious
Mhm.
avoidant is the most common, probably 70% of women I
Mhm.
coach. What are
Mhm.
successful, single moms, or never had kids and very established in their careers. And they say, like, I'm amazing. Why wouldn't a man want me? I'm like, well, they do, but they can't have you because you won't let them in because you're
Mhm.
very busy with your life, your career. And it's
Mhm.
the anxious avoidant, which is the next one. Both avoidance, anxious avoidant or dismissive avoidant, typically praised by their independence. The idea that my emotions are my problem. I don't want to lean on anybody, not your problem. I will take care of everything. Okay. And highly established in career, highly educated, tons of hobbies, usually few friends. Sometimes they'll have a ton of friends if that's like their thing. They always want to go out and do stuff. Auto regulation is typically high, whether the auto regulation be too much of a sport, watching football for like 6 hours a day every day, or
Mhm.
too active in a sport, too invested into something to avoid connection, to avoid emotions. So they'll use a lot of things and they'll sell it to you as in I'm just a busy person. I'm just really invested in this. I'm just really focused on my career right now, they'll use words like someday I want a family, or I just kind of like to wait and see how it goes, or I don't like to rush anything, or I don't not really looking for pressure with anything. I'm just gonna wing it,
Right.
know what's right when it's right, kind of a thing.
So my second is fearful avoidant. My first is securely attached. I've earned it, but I know if any little issues arise, it's gonna be from my fearful avoidance. So can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, and again, very common with women. So fearful avoidant is typically, if you think disorganized, when you look at the foundation in childhood, it can come from two different childhoods. Just think chaos. That's it. It's literally like there's a split in the person as an adult, an anxious, preoccupied here, and a dismissive, avoidant over here.
Mhm.
And this is a coping mechanism from childhood because a child, if it is either an overtly abusive relationship with a parent, either physical or mental abuse, that then equates the child with the idea that the children naturally is going to want to go to the parents, looking for attention and affection, and the child that will be met with fear, abuse, hurt, harm. So
Mhm.
they will then equate me wanting to go with you or to you for affection to there will be met with pain. So
Mhm.
love, connection equals pain to them in their mind. Okay. It will
Mhm.
also be a second option is an anxious avoidant individual would be the chaos parent. This is drugs, alcohol. This could be affairs. This could be a parent that got divorced with two other spouses. Maybe one of them is abusive. It's a lot of chaos, unpredictability, health issues, mental health issues, substance abuse problems, parents who maybe mom is a manic depressant, maybe dad's alcoholic. There's no consistency, but the child still has the desire for connection. Maybe sometime when mom's not in her manic state, she's going to like really want to do all the fun stuff. The next day she's depressed, completely disconnected, or maybe dad gets drunk and he's violent. So the child constantly scans their environment for stress,
Mhm.
right? So this individual is waiting for the other shoe to drop. They're constantly testing to see if they can trust you enough. But here's the problem. Secure individuals have trust at 100%. So you meet me, I trust you 100. Why wouldn't I trust you? The anxious avoidant, you're at zero all the time.
Mm.
Have to earn it. So you'll earn 5%, you'll earn 10%. But what happens if one thing happens?
Mhm.
Back down to zero every time. This is an insecure idea of trust where you're
Mhm.
constantly on eggshells, constantly trying to earn their attention, affection, and commitment. This becomes a problem. The anxious avoidant wants the relationship. These are the guys that come in, and women love bombing. They come in hot,
Mhm.
perfect until there's an expectation, until there's an emotional expectation, until there's intimacy, until things are really good or really bad. Really bad meaning you question them on flirting with a girl at a bar. That's
Mhm.
horrendous. How could you possibly question them? You can't be the right person.
Mhm.
They'll leave. So they love bomb you. Love bombing, people get very confused with, because secure people, a lot of insecure women will accuse secure men of love bombing because
Mhm.
they're showing up. But the women are used to these real love bombers, which means they come hot and heavy. As soon as they get you hooked in, they disconnect and you're emotionally there. That's that intermittent gratification. And you stay, you chase. And you're that woman asking me today, how do I get my avoidant man back? Please help me.
Mhm.
Because they're stuck emotionally. He knows that he withdraws, the avoidant hits him hard, right?
Mhm.
Go on, his cortisol drops, his dopamine rises, then he comes back. And he's like, hey, how you doing? I'm thinking about you.
Mhm.
Body's back, and you take him back in. And as soon as things
Mhm.
happen again, then he's gone.
Mhm.
He's always looking for a reason, or she is always looking for a reason
Right.
why they shouldn't be in the relationship, rather than a secure person is looking for a reason why they can stay and what you can work on.
Mhm.
So the
Yeah.
avoidant has this constant pull inside of them. I want you, but I'm scared of you. Love, I don't
Right. In, out, hot, cold.
don't know what I want. I don't know if I
Yeah.
can do this. I have the fear that something's going to happen. If something did happen, that's validation that something else is going to happen. There's
Mhm.
any tiny thing validates the fear that they can't trust love.
Mhm. So true. So what does a secure relationship actually feel like in the body then?
The
Yeah.
secure believes about open communication. It's from a man's perspective, it's different from men and for women. For men, secure men, and I've had to learn this, and it is very challenging. Men have the task, and insecure men hate this. They hate it. And it's so frustrating for me because I just want to like slap these dudes. Your woman's emotional state should not be a threat to your nervous system.
Mhm.
Period. Full stop. No questions asked. You can lose your little marbles. And I am not going to lose my little 12-year-old marbles back at you. I'm going to
Mhm.
have capacity emotionally and regulating my nervous system to know that your emotions change often and they vary a lot.
Mhm.
The gift that women bring to men is emotional presence, right? And men like, well, I want it. Yeah, but do you even know what it feels like? That means you're going to get the woman in front of you, bringing up how she's feeling about herself and you in the relationship, not as a complaint to you, but drawing attention to her emotional attunement to the relationship right now.
Mhm.
Secure man will be like, well, what about the 50 things I did 5 years ago? You're like,
Oh gosh. So
right.
annoying.
Exactly. Because the women are now,
Mhm.
right? You feel what you feel now, and you'll feel something different in 3 hours if he actually
Mhm.
pays attention, validates you, holds you up energetically through that, and says, I got you. Tell me what you're feeling. I want to go through this with you.
Mhm.
We need to do to resolve this because I don't want you to feel like this.
And you can stay regulated because you're not taking it personally.
It's not a threat to your nervous system. And
Right.
even if the woman says personal things, guess what? The guy's job is still don't take it personally. And no offense, it is the 12-year-old little girl
Right.
inside you throwing a tantrum. And he needs to look at you not in a degrading way, but as a 12 or an 8-year-old little girl.
Mhm.
I tell men this. I'm like, when your woman is having her emotions come up, she's expressing what she's feeling inside. What are you going to say to your 8-year-old daughter? You're going to defend and call your 8-year-old daughter names, tell her she's toxic and she's abusive? It's like, grow up. Why would you tell your woman that then? You know,
Mm.
she's
Mhm.
walking from a place, she's hurt, she's scared, maybe. She wants you to come closer together. The man's job is to regulate his nervous system and his emotional state always. Because if you can't
Mhm.
regulate his emotions, then you fundamentally cannot trust him. And you're
Yeah.
not going to
Yeah.
understand.
And if he is being dysregulated by her emotions, then he's not leading the
No,
relationship at all. He's allowing her behavior to dictate his.
it's subconscious, but you'll
Mhm.
test a little
Mhm.
bit by saying, okay, well, what can I push? Is he going to have boundaries? Is he going to have self-respect? Is he going to be able to check my emotional state and
Mhm.
call you out on it? And even if you're really dysregulated, like, oh, listen, this is a little much. I want you to
Mhm.
calm down. We're going to talk about this in 15 minutes. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to come back.
Mhm.
We're going to finish this conversation because it seems like there's a little bit more going on than me not loading the dishwasher when I got home for work because this
Right.
that, that. And I want to find out what that is.
And I love that you use the words "it seems like." I was just talking to my client about the specific words we choose and how we could choose words that will trigger someone, or we could choose words that don't cause them to put up their defenses, but using I statements. Like, "It seems like to me that something's still bothering you," and that's huge.
I remember my girlfriend, this hit me hard quite some time ago. She told me we were having a disagreement or something. She's saying how she feels. And I kept trying to make it make sense because I didn't understand it. And she said,
Right.
to me, like, stop trying to take me out of my body. It makes
Mm.
crazy. And I'm like, what? And she
Yeah.
explains to me. I finally had this aha moment. And now I coach on it. Like it's one of my
Mhm.
things I talk to men about. I mean, you want to piss a woman off, you start to make things make sense.
Right. Or you tell her that she shouldn't feel that way. That's one of the worst things you could say,
Why do
or
you
that
feel
doesn't make
that way?
sense.
As
Yeah.
an application rather than like, tell me what you're feeling.
So
Okay.
then what do men do? What should they do when they're in that situation where they wanna make sense of it or they wanna tell her, "You're crazy." What should they do if they wanna keep the relationship and the trust?
Right. This is when men need to just take a deep breath and they say absolutely nothing other than, I understand how you're feeling.
Mhm.
I mean,
I hear you.
I hear you, you know, validate, normalize, empathize.
Do you
But realistically, it's the man being able to hold his emotional state calm. She needs to know that he is a safe space. And there's lots of things that create safety in a relationship. There's no one thing that can wreck it and no one thing that can make it. It is the conglomeration of many things. Emotional safety, though, the ability for him to stay present and connected to her during her emotional disconnection, where she is very much disconnected between her heart and her head, and she is fully sitting in her feelings, okay, which is the strength and the sole reason that men tell me they want women is for emotional affection, attention, growth mindset, companionship, quality time, physical affection. But when they get it, because they don't know what it actually feels like, they're scared of it. And these are the men, the insecure men that just then fight back. They project.
Mhm. I often tell men that the most important trait you can have when dealing with a woman is dun, dun, dun. Guess what it is?
Would we?
Self-control. Self-control with your strength, your words, your power, like, that's huge, and a woman, I feel like the most important trait she can learn is the art of silence.
Yuck.
Because women are nags, right? It's like, "Just shut up already, and just you don't have to have the last word."
I always joke. Women want a man who's growth mindseted, and I say
Mhm,
fundamentally, good luck. Um,
mhm,
and men want a woman who's going to take accountability for everything. I'm like, good luck.
mhm.
I'm like, that's your job. You take
Right.
accountability first. The hope that she will calm down and come closer to you and become reconnected. Hope for that. Her job
Mhm,
is not to be accountable for everything. Your job is to be accountable on how you hold space and present to her
mhm,
as
mhm.
how she reacts as a direct reflection of you taking accountability of how you're
Mhm.
showing up in the relationship. Men don't understand emotional leadership. Leadership in anything is what they need to do. Men think leaders are just like, oh, I can plan dinner, I can make
Right.
money. Right, that's good. But I have women divorcing billionaires because
Mhm.
we in the leadership isn't all there. It's emotional. And these guys are so disconnected emotionally or having tons of affairs, whatever, that it's over.
What does leadership look like in a relationship?
Leadership, emotional leadership is number one, you can
Mhm,
lead with emotional clarity and calmness.
mhm.
During the disruption, during the emotional storm that women will inevitably have during the blessed luteal phase, men are like, I got this. It's all good.
Put it on your calendar.
I have chocolate or I have a hot bath, whatever it is. I mean, like,
Red wine.
where he can hold her emotional state, number one. It is stepping outside of his comfort zone. Whereas if there's a disconnection or a rupture, and we've all had these where you have a disagreement or a fight, it kind of peters out. Next thing you know, you're kind of flirting and whatever. After you kind of whatever get over it, the emotions are settled, but the conversation never finished and never circled. So the guy's sitting there, he's like, "Ooh, I dodged a bullet. Looks like we don't have to talk about whatever it is." She must have
Mhm.
thought about it because women always forget. Um,
Oh,
but
thoughts, yeah.
so the idea is the emotional leadership is the next day. The guy says, "Listen, I don't want to do this because I don't want to fight, and I got anxiety bringing it up." He's saying how he feels, but I really want to resolve that conversation we had last day.
Mhm.
I don't want you to feel like that's not resolved. It's important that we finish the conversation, as uncomfortable it is for me.
Mhm.
I want you and I to reconnect fully, not just kind of get comfortable and complacent again. That's leadership. And
Yeah.
it's the idea to put your emotions aside, the discomfort and the fears of being vulnerable with your partner. And this is what comes down to emotional stability, emotional leadership. If he can't be emotionally vulnerable, if he can't be a leader with you, if his emotional state varies frequently, then this means he's unpredictable, unreliable. There's a lot of trust issues with a man who cannot control his emotions because that
That
means
is
functioning
Oh,
from
go
his
ahead.
heart, not his head.
Right. I love that you said that because that is one of the most important things I think a man should be listening to this is how he can emotionally lead or just lead his relationship in general is to do what you said, like follow through and mend the conflicts, even if it's the next day. Don't wuss out of it. And that reminds me of my marriage. It was like Groundhog Day. We would get into an argument and we wouldn't resolve it. And the next morning he would say, "Good morning. Would you like some coffee?" And I'd be like, What the fuck?" Like, "Dude, good morning? It's not a good morning." It's like, "You're insane."
Oh, yeah. Yes,
That's
the avoidance of emotional discomfort. I had to do this just the other week. We had a disruption. I don't know what it was about, doesn't matter. And we had a rupture on the highway. Something came up. It was stuff from the past. I thought she had forgotten about it forever. Clearly, she didn't. So she brought it up and she's like, pull over on the middle of like the 401 in LA. It's like, pull over. I'm going to get an Uber. I'm like, we're going to the airport. What do you mean you're going to get? I'll meet you at the airport. I'm like, you're not meeting me at the airport, Dan.
Oh.
Like,
So that's a good example of somebody who's not fully yet able to regulate emotions. It's funny when you said a rupture on the highway, I was imagining like a blown tire, but it's basically the same thing.
Yeah, I call them ruptures. Yeah, there's a disruption in the
Yeah.
flow of relationships. So we get to the airport and we checked it and everything like that, and we just sort of flirt. We're like, we're very. So she leans in. We're getting coffee, and we had repaired. Right.
Mhm.
The next day, we brought it up. We reopened the
Yeah.
conversation.
Mhm.
I re-engaged because I'm like, listen, I want to talk about that. It's really
Mhm.
important. We
Mhm.
and this is an ongoing thing for us.
Mhm.
We have trust issues. Nothing that's been like cheating or anything like that, but just the fundamental trust with my own core wounds and her core wounds. Trust
Mhm.
others. So this is leadership. I said recently to her, I'm like, this is another reason for leadership, for example. And it's where if two people have some trust issues, because I've been divorced and my ex it was a very ugly divorce, let's put it that way. And I had a hard time trusting women just because of my childhood and how I grew up. Don't trust women because they're going to give you an apple and ruin the world like Eve did. Um, and she's got trust because of her own relationships experiences with men, justifiably. So we were in therapy recently, and the therapist asked her, "What do you need to trust him?" And she's like, "I don't know." And she asked me, and I'm like, "I don't know." And I thought about it for a day. I'm like, you know what? Like, I don't need anything. I just need to make the decision to go all in and trust her and put everything out unequivocally and take the risk of
Mhm.
rejection. That's emotional leadership. Someone has to step up. Somebody has to do it first. Somebody's got to remain calm. Somebody's
Mhm.
have to put all their cards on the table with the risk of completely losing everything, but the faith that if it's the right thing, it will continue on. Even if it's not dead, even if they need a break, it will continue on if it's the right relationship.
And the most important thing that you need to be able to do that is humility. Chris, for you to be able to do that, you have to know your ego is taking the back seat because the person who steps up first to take the responsibility, the first person to say, "I'm sorry," they're the most humble. They're the smarter ones than the person who always waits until the other person comes back around. And I did want to mention that anybody who's listening to this, you don't have to be in a relationship to learn what Chris and I are talking about. You because securely attached starts with yourself. And when you're talking about being emotionally regulated, I've noticed because I haven't been in a romantic relationship for a year, but still during this year, I've had situations where I could have been triggered or people did not value me. And I put a stop to it. But I realized in my body, the old Anna would have been unregulated. And because now I'm educated about it, I know what to do to take the steps, to pause, to reflect, to ask myself, what is happening inside my body right now? Why is this happening? What does God want to teach? This is important. Securely attached doesn't relate just to romantic relationships. It starts with yourself, right?
When I'm coaching, this is a common thing. I'm not in a relationship. I don't know if I need coaching. I'm like
Mhm,
70% of the work is done on your own.
mhm,
30% is done in relationship. I knew this going into my current relationship of 2.5 years now. I told her overtly early on, I'm like, vulnerability is what I need to work on. I'm good with a lot of other things, and I need to be in relationship to work on my vulnerability and to work on that brutal honesty through my own shame wounds of my messy 30-year past. I'm like, I have to be with somebody to learn to lead trust, to learn that I can co-regulate, to learn that I have made the conscious choice for the first time in my life, consciously choosing the person I want to be with rather than just
mhm,
fall into chemistry or quote unquote love. Like I fell into love in my marriage. I didn't choose it. And I told her, I'm like, you're the first person I consciously chose because I know and I value at
mhm,
such a high level that I want to go through the things that I need to heal in me with you. I can't do it the rest on my own. So it's a 70-30 rule.
mhm,
And on the inverse of that, they think because they're not in a relationship and they've done the work that they're fully secure. I'm like,
mhm,
yeah, false
mhm,
relationship. They're like, it all came back. I'm like, yeah, it's because it's like saying I can box.
mhm,
I watch
mhm,
some videos and I hit a bag and you get in a ring with a partner and you're decimated, right? Um,
mhm,
good luck. You've got to practice it with another. It's called attachment
mhm.
for a reason.
Mhm. I love that. I love what you just said because I think more people should have that mindset going into relationship. Number 1, you choose your partner. I know you said earlier that the woman chooses, but men, you can first say, "Hey, I choose that girl and hopefully she chooses me." And then second of all, have the mindset of I'm entering this relationship and I know it's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard work. Every single relationship, no matter how securely attached you are, is going to take work, right? There's going to be things that pop up that you're going to have to deal with, things from your past. And for me, even I was in a relationship for a year that I learned a lot about myself. And then after I exited that relationship, I had a whole year now where I've grown and I've learned about myself. I've been able to use these tools with my children who are 14 and 17 and 22. And so you can use it on other people, your kids, your parents, where you can just constantly learning to regulate yourself.
Well, this is why when I'm doing work with people, I do it in low stakes. So, like boundaries, for example, or regulating your nervous system. It's always practiced in low stakes or low risk relationships. This is familial, interpersonal relationships, or work relationships, or with kids. Like I had a new client today. She's got two kids, 2 and 4. And the kids were like, kind of complaining, and she had to keep her emotional state calm all the time. Her 4-year-old was like losing his little marbles, very emotional little boy, as boys are. And I looked at her, I'm like, now you know how guys feel when women are losing their minds. And she laughed. I'm like, you got to keep your cool with that kid. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's God's way of giving it back to you.
The quote that came to my mind just now is that marriage is not meant to make you happy, it's meant to make you holy. And when I heard that, it switched everything for me because a lot of people enter relationships, like you were saying earlier, just like for the sex, for the companionship, so they're not alone, so they just have somebody. Just you saying that has really changed my perspective, and I hope people who are listening really wrap their head around this, that to be able to enter the relationship with the knowledge that I get to work on myself in this relationship, like you said, 70-30. 70% of it's gonna be what? You working on
It's your own
yourself?
stuff. Your partner's there to
Yeah.
encourage blind spots, to bring to
Mhm,
your attention that things aren't working.
mhm,
And is so good at doing.
mhm.
And just say, this doesn't work. Act your age with this. This isn't okay.
Mhm.
And it's the man's job to
Yeah,
be, woman's job to be like, you know what? You're right. You're right.
yeah.
I this. I do not want to do this. I need to go.
Mhm,
And that's where I'm at. Like we're at 2.5 years in, and I'm like, we've got a big, amazing life ahead. We're ready for engagement potentially. So she's at that decision where either she wants to continue with me in our journey healing together and alone or not. So we're at the 11th hour right now in my own relationship, right?
mhm,
We're at that space where we are, I guess, technically not together, um, although still connected. But it is that decision and that time and that test really, can I hold my emotional state while I'm giving her time to make the very conscious choice? Do I choose this man to go through life? Can I work through the things that I need to work through in the relationship and on my own and feel that
mhm,
there's a future there? And my job is to maintain emotional control, to not reach out, to not force things, to not convince her, to not try to sell anything to her as far as like we can do this, or just sit back and let her decide on her own and be comfortable from a secure place that whatever decision is made is going to be the decision that is inevitably the right decision, no matter what it is, right?
That's interesting. You guys were dating for about 2.5 years, and then you decided to kind of call it off to give her space to make a decision whether she wants to go for the long haul.
Now, we've had ups and downs. I was post-divorce 6 years and 7 years almost, and that was a really nasty divorce, a lot of side effects in my life because of it. So I came in, at the tail end of that. She came in with her stuff. So there was ups and downs while we were navigating our own past traumas as well as getting in attunement with each other, because neither of us have ever had healthy relationships. Hitting our own attachments like freight trains into each other, core wounds. Hello, here we are. She's hit my core wounds massively with that. Shame wound was in there
I'm just trying to understand, why did she feel the need to take a break to make this decision?
because of our own ruptures. Again, for a woman, the number one thing is to feel safe in her body.
Mhm,
So, and just because of her stuff, that is her core wound would be safety.
mhm,
Or I don't know if I am safe, but it's her deepest desire to feel safe in her body.
mhm,
And she's like, and I don't know if I want to or can have that with you because of what's happened in our relationship.
like, yeah.
So she's got to figure out what that looks like for her and
Mhm,
going to take the risk based on what she knows about me and my capacity in the future.
mhm,
So that because it's a big step. So she needs to make that choice for herself. And the only way to do that, because we have 99.9% compatibility, it's really good when we're together, easy. We resolve conflict super well. We fight perfectly for the most part. Like everything is good, but that
mhm,
one little piece, a very important one. So she needs to assess, is the whole greater than the sum of its parts? Right.
mhm,
So is taking one of the parts and using that as a reason to throw the whole thing out, is that work?
mhm. I love what you said, and men need to hear this because so many of my clients say, I've given her everything."
Um,
And I say, "But emotional safety, the one thing that she really wants that money can't buy, you have not given her emotional safety." So men, if you weren't listening, tune in now. Your woman needs emotional safety more than the bags and the yachts and the lake house.
I'll tell you what, like I give her everything. Her exact words, you treat me exactly like I have ever
Mhm,
would ever
mhm,
treat everything. How we fight, how I could apologize, all of this stuff. But I came with my own shame wounds. So I hid
mhm,
my past that don't affect us, but are very much a part of me, just because I didn't want to bother her with it, or it was like something I was embarrassed of. So it
mhm,
came up in our relationship. She saw that as a compromise to trust. Because
mhm,
you didn't tell me that. What else didn't I tell you? And she's right. Not that I have held anything else back
mhm,
table, but still that was a major rupture. And to her,
mhm,
she now has to sit with, are you still that person or are you not that person based on what I know about you?
mhm,
So again,
mhm,
man, everything that you do is no more important than the single one thing that she needs, which is
mhm,
that emotional safety and trust,
mhm,
and just safety in her own body. And that is a tough thing to do because women have their own core wounds that can affect that as well. So
mhm,
it's not simple. It's not a linear problem and it's not a linear solution. And the tough thing is in relationships is you can't just jump back in after a rupture and think that, okay, I'm going to make the choice. It's going to feel good. Healing is up and down, right?
mhm,
Healing is painful, just like the rupture. And a lot of people avoid the healing, and this is where 70% of relationships fail, is in the second aspect of relationship after the honeymoon phase. Is called conflict.
mhm, mhm,
Do it because they don't want the pain of resolving conflict, which means inevitably, if they can't do that, it doesn't matter what it is, it'll be something different in another relationship. If you can't resolve big conflict and trust, you can't resolve anything. It's
mhm.
a fundamental aspect of mature love.
That brings me to this question. What are the biggest signs someone operating from an unregulated nervous system in their relationships?
Or unregulated nervous system, there's a number of them. This is when they will feel that you are responsible for their emotional state. This
Mhm,
is commonly the woman who is going to look for the man to calm her down consistently or to hold her emotional state all the time,
mhm,
right? Self-regulation is very important, but if you're using him to co-regulate and calm you down and emotionally offload on him consistently, that's unhealthy. Right?
mhm,
It is someone who has The expectation that regulated is going to mean someone who expects that the fireworks are at the beginning are normal and that a lack of chaos is uncomfortable. Right. I was literally told by my ex-wife, she's like, people that just have these boring marriages are miserable. They never have sex. They're not connected. They don't love each other. To her, boring was the lack of chaos. So she created
Mhm.
a lot of chaos because that's what her nervous system was used to.
Mhm.
Men or women that test their partner are dysregulated, right?
Mhm.
Yes, they're not okay in relationships.
That brings me to my next question, actually. Why does calm, secure love feel boring or suspicious to some people?
Usually it's calm or suspicious because the nervous system is used to the chaos of what their attachment is, right? If your nervous system is used to anxiety and performative, the anxious person is always going to want the avoidant person because the avoidant person is not available. And if someone's not available, what's the best way to get them to love you from an anxious perspective? Prove that you're lovable. Chase them. Be better. Do better. Look better, right? Be better at sex, be better at your job, have more money if you're an anxious guy. But so they want the avoidant person because if you're not avoidant, they don't have to prove they love you. If we're together, you're anxious and I'm secure, and I don't need you to prove that you love me. In fact, I just want you the way you are. You don't really need to do anything. I got it. You're not going to be in anxiety, and your nervous system is used to being in anxiety to prove yourself. So you'll see me as very boring. There's no chemistry, there's no spark, there's no passion, aka there's no toxicity, and I'm not chaotic. Your nervous system is used to chasing something that it wants, and that is dopamine and cortisol. And the feeling of anxiety is very synonymous with the feeling of love, right?
Mhm.
If you think about anxiety, what are some of the symptoms? Shunt blood from your hands to your core, tingly hands, right? Flushed face, elevated heart rate, increased breathing rate. Sounds a lot like love, right? The feelings of love, the chemistry of it. So people equate that chemistry, anxiety, with the feeling that this must be right because it feels right. That's a problem.
What are 3 things that somebody can do to start learning to regulate their nervous system and stop equating the chaos or chemistry with love?
This really starts with the fundamentals, which is removing auto regulation. I get most people on a dopamine detox. So, removing social media, removing alcohol, removing unhealthy patterns like gambling, too much exercise. Number two is breath work. I get people doing box breathing, usually once, twice a day. And or if you are more dysregulated, this could be guided breathwork sessions. And a regulated nervous system also is physical activity. This is above down sort of stuff, yoga, guided breath work, like I said, journaling. So you're basically managing your 3 types of regulation: co-regulation, auto-regulation, self-regulation. You're rearranging that hierarchy, making sure that each percentage-wise, each one is appropriate. You should have a lot of co-regulation, a moderate amount of auto-regulation, and a fair amount of self-regulation.
Mhm.
So learning to keep your emotional state grounded and stay present in your body. And then later on, we work into somatic work, understanding what emotion, where it feels in your body. And then what sensation is that like? And then what thoughts come up afterwards and reprogram the pathway.
And as a Enneagram 8, we are natural leaders, very strong personality. We know what we want. We go get it. We don't accept no. I've had to learn to regulate myself. One of the most important things I've been able to do is pause.
Yep.
Don't say anything. It could be a few seconds, but I'm so used to, let's do this. Let's plan this. Let's get this done. Let's talk about it. Let's resolve this. And I know just the right thing to say all the time.
Okay. Yes.
So been able to just pause, take a deep breath,
Mm,
and realize I don't always have to say something. Sometimes I can just be silent or just say, I hear you. And that has created a lot less conflict with me and my children and family members, etc.
mhm. Yeah, 100%. Listening is a skill.
Mhm.
One of my clients was a company called The Listening Path. She made a whole business with it. Uh, Listening is the most important thing.
Mhm. So, can someone truly change their attachment style?
Attachment's fully changeable. Personality, partially changeable. Temperament, not changeable. These are the 3 aspects I look at with people
Mhm.
when who they should be finding in their life.
And I want you to tell really quickly, what is core wounds for those who don't know what that is?
A core wound is the fundamental wound from childhood where you have your fundamental sense of self-worth, realistically, right? For me, with a core wound would be abandonment, rejection. How you see yourself and how you reveal your own sense of self-worth in life and in relation.
Mhm. How does somebody move from those attachment styles to securely attached?
Ooh, this is number one, understanding what it is, what is your attachment, and number two, where did it come from? How does it present and how does it affect your patterns of behavior? So it's understanding. My whole Instagram page is about understanding perspective. So I try to give details. Today I'm making a video on fearful avoidant. I am the fearful avoidant. What's that look like?
Mhm.
And then it's understanding what patterns of behavior happen. What are the triggers? It's learning to regulate your nervous system. It's learning a skill set like boundaries. So it's teaching you skills that you just have to learn in adulthood. um, Teaching you about yourself. What are your values? What are your non-negotiables in your relationship? What are your spoken expectations, which are typically unspoken expectations in a relationship, right? What is the definition of who you are? Again, what's a personality test? What are your 9 aspects of temperament? Let's define those, right? It's looking at everything wholly and finding a path to correct the things that don't work for you in your life, to become integrated in your nervous system and realistically integrating your feelings in your body with the thoughts in your mind so the two are connected and communicating with each other rather than operating from avoidant, which is all head, or anxious, which is all
Mhm.
body.
Right. That's interesting that you say that because it seems to me like a lot of people, they don't take relationships as seriously as they do their job, their finances, their hobbies. And I think we talked about this before. In grade school, we're not taught, I think, 3 of the most important things, which are finances, relationships, and parenting. And I wish more people went into relationships with this mindset where they take it so seriously and all the things you just named. It's like some people might listen to this and be overwhelmed, be like, "Oh my gosh, I don't wanna deal with all that shit. I just wanna be single." Well, fine, be single. But for the people who want to have good relationships, we should be a lot more intentional and take it a lot more seriously, and because anything that's beautiful is gonna take a lot of hard work, right?
But yeah, you want a job. If you want to be a physician, you need to go to school for 8 to 10 years. That's the reality.
Mhm,
And you're only going to work for 30 years. So people will go to school and put in 10,000 hours of training
mhm.
or become a professional athlete to do a job. If you're a pro athlete, that might get you 10, 15 years tops, depending on or a professional, 30 years tops. And then they're cashed out, but they won't put 3 weeks, sorry, 3 days a month or
No.
4 months into working on a relationship, which is going to be with them till the day they die.
Why? I mean, let's think about this. Why don't people do that?
That's a good question. It's because there is no objective reward that is measurable other than
Mm.
um, the relationship itself.
So true. Good answer.
And people want immediate satisfaction. They're very
Mhm,
transactional, most people. And you want to be able to do this and get that, say this and get that, which is the avoidant individual. It's transactional. If I pay for your stuff, I want to have sex. If I'm nice to you, you should just be nice to me, which means not bring up any emotions. Transactional. A equals.
mhm.
There is also no direct path. There is no guarantee that if you like university, you take math, science, chemistry, whatever, you'll get into grad school or undergrad. There is no guarantee in a relationship. You've got someone else in there. You've got to look into your own core wounds. You've got to look into the things
Mhm,
you can't tangibly see. You have to feel them. Everyone is scared of feelings. That's what prevents you from working forward towards these things consciously.
mhm. That reminds me of another verse I was thinking about. Have you heard of iron sharpens iron?
Oh yeah, I've heard
And
that.
a lot of people don't wanna be with another iron. They wanna be iron. They wanna be strong and useful, but they don't wanna be with another iron because then they're gonna be sharpened, right? But I feel like that's the most satisfying, fulfilling way to live is to constantly be sharpened, and the people who stay alone, they don't have anyone to sharpen them or to hold them accountable or to call them out. I love using the phrase, "That doesn't sit well with me. Can we talk about it?" And then we can go on, but if you don't have that mindset of iron sharpens iron, then you're gonna stay the same, and the average person doesn't even change that much after 5 years.
Yeah, they won't. No, or 20 years. The
Yeah,
well,
20 years.
with my partner, I overtly tell her still, I'm like, I chose you to go through and heal my wounds. And I know that is not an easy task. And
Mhm.
she chose me, which is why we've hit
Mhm.
our core wounds, because consciously we're wanting to work on it, which also means by default, you're given the biggest challenges you'll ever be given.
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
And this really comes down to capacity and desire and willingness to go through it, even when it's really shitty.
Last question. What is one uncomfortable truth about healing and relationships that most people don't wanna hear?
That it is not linear, I think.
Mhm.
That's the first thing that comes to mind. It's like grieving. You've got all the different stages of grieving, sadness, anger, frustration, um, all of this,
Shock. Yeah.
all of it. And when you're healing your own attachments, when you're healing a relationship, there are going to be massive setbacks. There's going to be frustrations. There's going to be a lot of things that make you uncomfortable, that you're uneasy with. It is it's simple, but it is not easy.
Well, Chris, do you wanna add anything else before we say goodbye?
That's it. We covered a lot today. If anyone wants to find me on Instagram, it's
Mhm.
evolve by Chris. TikTok the same, but I don't really go so much on TikTok. Instagram is
Mhm.
my primary page where I do one-on-one coaching in the private coaching or a school community, and all those links are in my bio on my Instagram.
Mhm. And I will include your information in the show notes if anybody wants to find you.
Mm, appreciate it.
And thank you so much for your time and all this valuable information. It
Oh,
was
yeah.
amazing. And for the work that you're doing, it's, like, amazing.
I'm passionate about it. So actually, I'm just starting to do this thing now. You'll find this interesting because I had someone reach out just the other day. We're doing like fast track coaching, which is
Mhm.
30-minute video call. Someone can't afford or doesn't have the time to do my full coaching program. It's just I will give you my direct advice on a 30-minute video call. You break it down, and I'll say, this is what I think is happening. This is what I think you should do, and help them write a boundary or a breakup letter or make a decision to either leave or stay, whatever it is. Not telling them what to do, but just a take on this is what's happening. This is what he's doing. Typically, I'm coaching women. So from a male's perspective, this is not okay. This is an expectation. And I'm totally removed from the situation. And
Mhm.
that's why people on my Instagram, they appreciate it. I'm direct. I call it out. I
Mhm.
don't sugarcoat
Yes.
much. I'm not here to validate you.
Mhm. You and I are the same. We're not gonna sugarcoat anything. We wanna save time, we wanna get them results, we wanna see them unstuck. We're gonna do it to best of our ability as quickly as possible, and we're not going to whitewash anything, and that's why men will come to me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the difference between a therapist and a
Mhm,
coach. Therapist will
mhm,
validate you all day long as to
mhm,
not that I tell people
mhm,
what to do, but I will give strong recommendations.
mhm, and I just had a client tell me yesterday, "My therapist just nods and agrees with me," and I'm like, "That's not gonna happen here."
No, it happened here. Yeah.
But, thank you again, Chris, so much. I really appreciate your time and all your value,
Thanks so much.
and I'll see you later.
Next time. Okay.
Okay, bye.